will Los Ratones make playoffs, especially after a 2-0 winning streak, two in a row? Kind of crazy here. Yamato, let's start with you. Will Los Ratones make playoffs?
It might be doable, man. I've really loved the adaptations, and there will be some grilling in this section, I promise. But I really like the adaptations, and obviously yesterday's game, Monday night's game, and then Sunday, where I think yesterday you guys were on second pick, were on first pick, which I think has definitely been a bit more of a struggle for you guys generally, compared to the second pick games, where of course you kind of have the pleasure of being able to get more counter picks, right? And specifically for Baus, it's a lot more comfortable for him, and I think that's been a struggle so far. And you could see it with some of the picks. Baus does seem very restricted. I think the blinds have been Volibear and Kled. But yesterday, we tied up our shoes, said, you know what? Back to 2025 we go. Gragas blind, and hey, you know what? Credit to Baus. Like, he had to deal with Nidalee top. He held his own for as long as he could. That pick is incredibly annoying. I think, frankly, Shifters could have picked 1,000,001 other like better champions into you guys. So I think maybe they missed Sunday for the donation, but Monday night's still good. But Baus came through with the flow state later on. He actually made a bunch of different plays. The one on. Of course, in base, when you guys were sieging, you guys were already kind of close to closing out, but he put his foot on their head, and I think for me that was just an incredibly big rebuilding in the confidence moment. I think for Baus, which has me very, very excited for you guys, and I think that had to have been a very, very big, probably shift in the air and the environment too, getting those 2 wins back to back like that,
which is great, Yamato. However, before we get to all the feel goods in the 2-game winning streak, it started with the clip on Reddit that kind of went viral. Baus says he hates playing pro and explains why. And in it, he's like, Velia goes and makes a steal. And I'm like, wow, this is one of the craziest plays I've ever seen. And then we go and review and we're like, oh, that was a net negative. We shouldn't have been in that play. And I'm like, who's in review that we know that might say something like that? And it felt like, oh no, this is not what you want to hear when your team's 0-3, losing that game at the on Saturday, 0-4. This seems like the beginning and the end, and then you rifle off 2 inspiring wins. So answer that first, and then go into the week that was.
Baus does some good yapping, bro. Right? It's just it's always important to see both sides of a play. It's like I encourage creativity, but it needs to be fundamentally sound creativity. It's like the rules, so you know how to break them. It's like oh, I am breaking tempo here, and I'm sticking behind to trap in this bush to fish for a kill. I am breaking the rule willingly. Because I still want to see the overarching ideas that are reoccurring to be reapplied. And this is the methodology, It's like you can have a game where, you smurf on the enemy and maybe the enemy instant gives you chances you shouldn't have. You need to see the other side of the coin. If the enemy plays correctly, what is then your correct decision? And obviously, in some cases that sounds boring, but it's just about building the basis of how you're playing. So this is something we're working on. And I understand from Baus's perspective. I always said the same. It's like this guy he's Captain Jack Sparrow. Imagine the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. Captain Jack Sparrow didn't get captured. He didn't negotiate with Captain Barbossa in the beginning and the coin tricks and the backflips and all that jazz. Bro, there would be no movie, It would be boring. It's like, oh yeah, Captain Jack Sparrow just does everything. Like it's some shitty version of Sherlock Holmes, I understand the pursuit of fun and balancing the 2 worlds, obviously with pro play. It's like, Baus knew what he signed up for. I was like, brother, these top laners that you play against, they're going to test you on your fundamentals, conquer that, and then you can bring in the spice, like a level 3 gank on mid lane, with a little cheater-based angle, there's room for spice, but first, make sure that the chicken isn't rotten, you have to make the easy fundamentals there. But back to your question, Digon, playoffs, 2-1 week feels fucking good. I'm telling you. It's like second game against Shifters was a bit of a steal. I know everyone's focused on Nidalee. We were ready for Nidalee. You know, I tell Baus, like, yo, you're gonna be playing against Nidalee. He's like, yeah, this champion's useless. I was like, all right.
He was right. Hey, but he's right. He was right.
Yeah,
Like,
well, you know, it's like, you know, the craziest thing is everyone's focused on the Nidalee, but bro, they locked in Lucian AD with Nico support, bro. Like,
yeah.
What are we doing?
That was insane as well. Like,
Yeah, bro. This is I knew Paduk was like in his like just looking at the prep and what he's played in Solk and so forth. I knew Lucian was one of them, but I thought like, oh, Lucian Army, whatever.
Yeah.
But then like I knew he leaned heavily into Ezreal, but then he just slammed Lucian, and it's like, bro, Lucian without the combo, it's like it's not really real. But that game definitely was a steal. But I feel like there's a karma balance, because I feel like we gave away like the KCB game, the KC game. Like you throw and you catch some, you know, that's just life. So the idea of making playoffs, I think the best thing to do, right, is zoom in, like zoom out a little bit and look at the opponents we have, right? The big ones are going to be Vitality, SK. You know, these matches are super important. We have MKOI, we have G2. These should be tougher matches, but just looking at the spread of opponents, I think it's definitely like in our hands. And considering it's BO1s, I think there's definitely a world where, you know, if things go really, really right for us, prep-wise, draft-wise, and in-game you just have some positive momentum, like MKOI and G2 can also tip over, you know? It's like they are not impossible to beat. And at the same time, they come up from a position of more comfort because they're pretty much secured for playoffs, right? So we just need to be ready to win. You know, I don't want us to go in and it's like, oh, they are better than us on paper. It's a fuck paper, bro. Paper burns, you know. It's a fucking paperless world. Like, just fucking go and be ready to win, you know. And that's where I'm at. So playoffs definitely within reach. I think we could do it.
Baus getting his first win. Velia getting his first win in LEC. Who needed that win the most, do you think, across this roster, given the 0-4 start against Los Gigantes as well?
Honestly, like, we were all very, very starved. It's like one of those things, like the difference between being 0-4 and 0-5. Like, if we lost to Team Heretics on that day, I do think that, you know, the odds of us making playoffs then would be so slimmed down. It would be so tough. And now the position has like shifted pretty much completely, right? It's like that win was so important.
The Shifters game, not Shifters.
It's just like the Team Heretics. No, like the Team Heretics game was the first win, right? So this was just. I think the 0-5. Obviously, I try to always like change the perspective of players to make sure that they, you know, view the challenge in the appropriate way and apply like the right amount of pressure and intensity behind it, right? But it would be very hard to sell a story of 0-5 and like going into that Shifters game and being like, oh, because maybe in that moment, if it was 0-5 and we're playing against Shifters, maybe the mentality would be different when we are like under the gun and you know, the feelings of not winning just dawns on you, you know? So I think in terms of importance, it's very hard to point to who, but I do think from, you know, just the general sentiment of the experienced guys, it's like that experience can be twofold. And I think they would view things maybe a little bit too realistically if we were in a 0-5 position, you know? So I think for the experienced guys, probably it meant more, you know?
Yamato with a little bit of the insight on what KCB might be feeling right now. Yamato, final thoughts here on Los Ratones week 2.
Clear marked improvement, I think, is the main thing. And a lot of problem solving obviously went into figuring out what went wrong in week 1 and what kind of felt the worst. And I'm sure between now and your next game's obviously Saturday, there's going to be a little bit more. I think there might even be a bit more draft pressure on you guys, just because I feel like now that you've taken some games, you know, is it MKOI first and then G2 or whichever way? I'm not sure, but I know it's all this weekend. They're going to study those drafts and they're going to look at like, okay, you know, the Rise. That's now a big thing where people are saying, well, like, hey, we might have to permaban the Rise. Like, can we give Nemesis this champion again? I think there'll be a lot of theory and cook on that, and I know you guys are gonna have to do your own preparation to make sure that if a lot of these tools that you did end up using this week, the Caitlyn as well is another one which I think did a lot of work for you guys. We have to be ready if in the event that now, hold on, we're not getting these champs anymore because they have to give some respect to you guys. So yeah, I think the progression was very clear between week 1 and 2. I'm hoping to see that same level of progression again between 2 and 3. But at the same time, I think now that you've got the wins under your belt, the teams are gonna give you a little bit more respect out of that run of schedule that you have, especially MKOI and G2. They're probably gonna try and really rough you up draft side, and I'm hoping they do. I'm hoping they do, because I'll be very disappointed in our top teams if they don't try and do that to you guys.
8 teams make it to playoffs. These next 3 matches, all generally playoff teams, general playoff position teams in MKOI G2, and then maybe moderate surprise here by Na'Vi, and then week 4 we'll have the put up or shut up matches with SK and with Vitality, depending on how things go later on in the season. All right, it's Power Spike, y'all. This was the quick start into it. Los Ratones having a great start to their week 2 into week 3, but that's not the only thing that we cover here. For those of you that are new, we cover everything across the league space, including some teams that aren't showing up so good. So maybe a bit of a change of pace here. Let's get into fraud alert first. Let's get into some fraudulency, shall we? And we're going East and West versions of it, starting with BLG and then ending with a team that beat a team that had players from their last season where they were one of the worst teams in the world. Talking Sentinels losing to Disguise. BLG and Sentinels. Let's get into this week's fraud alert. All right, and we'll start in the LPL with BLG, not because they're necessarily a bad team. Very strong team. Again, a roster put together to make a run to Worlds, picked up Viper, had a solid 4-0 start. And then Yamato, they ran into the buzzsaw that is JDG and kind of just not performing to expectation here. So where do you see the fraudulency in this BLG roster after 2 weeks?
It's weird because the thing that's obviously, like you said, the buzzsaw has been JDG, and it's I'm stealing this from my chat, to be honest with you, the tar belt, right? They've been smacked by the tar belt back to back. I think the first series, at the very least, it was like, okay, like JDG came in, they were just better, but also BLG noticeably underperformed across the board. I think it was only really, and this is the thing that's gonna kind of, I think, jar a lot of fans. It's just Viper. Viper remained like the only consistent throughout a lot of the series, or the main consistent throughout both their series. But I think right now, what remains the highest priority is just draft. Like BLG's drafts at times, they go from feeling really good to being incredibly bad, and there is no. It feels like there's never an in-between where BLG are on comfortable champs or like the strongest champs available, and they're executing on them with a level of consistency where it's like they should be beating JDG. Like this version of JDG right now, don't get me wrong, they're good and they're improving fast, and I would expect nothing less from a team under Tabe. But I look at the game 1 of the series yesterday, we have an 8K gold lead. And we have an 8K gold. And don't worry, they managed to do the same thing back to JDG, which I think we'll get into. But we have an 8K gold lead. The BLG I know, when they get leads, they don't fuck about. They keep on going and they keep on accelerating. But they couldn't do it, and it's not like they had a bad composition either. All right, so I'm just really, really concerned with this BLG, even though it's into JDG, who seem to be our clear second best team, I think, in the LPL. The other, for now, I think the jury is still out on anyone's legend and where they're going to land in a post-Tabe world. But we know they have the caliber because we saw what they did last year. It's not like they're not capable of doing it. But BLG right now, I think they just really need to do a lot to find their footing. Knight and Viper are the only ones that seem to be on a game-to-game basis, like doing a lot. But even in the game 3, I feel like Knight was put in a position where he had to go on Ari. The only other realistic pick he could have really looked at, I think, in that game was Talia. There was, of course, Syndra, because he's playing with Vi, so they can play Syndra Vi, and they can just completely bully out Honkyu on the Victor. But even I look at some of the decisions that Shun is making, and I think, well, in a world where Victor has no flash at level 6, if my Vi isn't sprinting mid lane 6.5 minutes in when she has ult, I'm concerned. I don't want to see Shun using ult top on the tank v tank matchup, but that's what he ends up doing. And I think for me, the best versions of BLG over the last 3 years are the ones that identify conditions to accelerate the game in a way that can't be answered appropriately. And I think for me right now, they're lacking that killer instinct, that bite on a consistent basis into what seem to be our best teams. Because even the AL series that they won a few weeks back now, they stole that. That was AL fucked up on the finishing line. They tripped up, they bucked their teeth, they broke their front teeth on the finishing line, and they got the series snatched from them. So that wasn't even a good look from BLG either. So I think for me, the fraudulency, it's rising, and I'm concerned because the rest of the league doesn't even look that well. Obviously, the rest of Group Ascend, across the board, they've left a lot to be desired. So I'm really concerned. You think about looking at T1 and Gen G, over in Korea. That's a scary prospect right now. If you're BLG, that's a terrifying prospect. So, I think if I'm giving it a rating now, it's sitting very firmly in the 5 to 6 range, and even though they're still top of Group Ascend, I think the nature in which they've won a lot of their series and the nature of how they've lost their series to JDG, the writing to me looks like it's on the wall. Where if they go to first stand and they look like this, they're dog food to T1 or Gen G, or whoever else may qualify in that second spot, coming out of the LCK come first stand.
Yeah, I think you're being a little kind to the golden left hand here in the one-on-ones. Honkyu looked better. Junjia looked better.
Yeah, Honkyu, I couldn't believe it. I mean, that kid's special, right? He's going to do some things over the next couple of years. If he doesn't, I'll be so surprised. But yeah, he completely he had Knight's number pretty much near start to finish. Yep. That is insane. Insane. Yep. Outside of lane, I thought Knight was fine, but the fact that Honkyu is coming in, I think that just speaks more to the confidence of Honkyu, that he's coming into laners like Knight and he's doing what he's doing to them.
Like you said, we'll be watching him hopefully for years to come. Crazy that he's had 2 of the best coaches in each region. He's had Chowie, best coach in LCP, and now heading on over and having Tabe, and you can see what it does for a player's confidence. Yamato, BLG. What did you make of their fraudulency so far, especially against the back-to-backs against JDG?
I think the scary part about Bilibili, that was in the back of my mind already last year, is that this team just seems very uncoachable in the sense that there's a diva-esque nature to their players. I feel like they have kind of built this legacy now of, the jungle is the problem, and then we switch to jungler. And then it's like, we're gonna we switch to jungler again, and then we do it again, and then maybe we do it one more time, and then it's like, we go to World Finals with Shun. Surely, if we get him back, we will get to the World Finals again. But the landscape has changed, and I worry that while they pinpoint that as a problem they need to address, they're also just sweeping their own issues under the rug. And while Bin and Knight being better than everybody was good enough at many stops, and that can still be the truth, maybe as come playoffs or as the kind of everything progresses. On paper, this roster should be better than the one that they had with Elk. I just don't see the same hunger and essence of improvement, because when they were starving, when they were during that era of starvation, they also had, close competition. There was a lot more, let's say, more of a vision in terms of what they wanted to achieve. I remember like when Billy first brought in Way, it was with the intention of like, oh, we need to basically catch up to Genji's macro in terms of the lane swaps because at MSI we were very one-dimensional, and there was a clear vision of like progression of how they're going to actually conquer internationals. But now I don't see that same level of fire because I do think that is something that you see on a day-to-day basis. I don't think anyone can sit with confidence and say, "Oh, come first stand or come MSI." The flagship that is Bilibili is going to be better than the Korean teams. That's just impossible to say. And I think they really need to earn that. And I worry that if things go rougher, or let's say they don't win LPL this split, are they going to be like, yeah, well, Shun, thought you would fix all our problems here, man. Come on now, like what you want to mention too? Like what's going to happen? So. I think that's obviously I am putting a lot of pieces together here, but the coach that they put in was their analyst, right? And in terms of what the coaching staff is, they lost a lot of people there. So I don't know who's controlling the room. That's like the main thing. And Viper, he does his thing. He's consistent, but he's been on teams where players don't fucking perform his whole life. Like that's been his curse. So I don't think he's randomly going to be the factor that is going to make the goats of the LPL get their shit together,
As we bring up Korean, I guess, the Korean teams that we're comparing BLG to, I will say that the LPL format here in Split 1 is more competitive since you have them playing double round robins against all the top teams compared to LCK, where we have the group set up and it looks like Hanwha Life Esports is going through a reset. So the only tough test that you have is D plus Kia. So Genji dismantled them. T1, it will play them this week. So you don't have T1 and Genji playing each other twice yet. So we'll see, right? Maybe it is just JDG and BLG just on another level, even though JDG lost in between the wins against BLG. However, I do think that format kind of plays a little bit here to that. Okay, that's BLG. Let's move on over to the first time this season here on Power Spike talking about LCS, and we go with the veteran-laden roster of Sentinels. They've got Impact, they've got Huhi, they've got the youth there in the mid lane. In terms of Dark Wings, they've got Bro Talent, Hambak over in the jungle, and then Rahel, who looked like was 1v9ing when he was on Disguised. They take the core of Disguised, bring it on over to Sentinels. Disguised, throw in a bunch of kids in there. And honestly, could have been a 3-0 Disguised because Sentinels kind of stole away game number 1. And then from there, just are behind. They are behind and lose 2 games. They drop the match, and Disguised, who barely won any games last year, win a series and now got drawn against FlyQuest and have the opportunity to like kind of sneak in there. So with that kind of loss, especially going against your old org, and you have that much kind of built-in synergy, where do you rate the fraudulency here of this Sentinels squad week number 1 of LCS, Yamato?
I think it's for me, it's gonna be higher because I kind of thought that the floor for this. I thought that when I looked at how people were rating, well, actually a lot of the LCS teams, I feel like people had Sentinels either really, really low or weirdly high, like basically broaching on top 3. For me, I was kind of somewhere in the middle. Like I think this team is probably finishing 4th, 5th. But making DSG look like they could have 3-0'd you is a pretty impressive feat for week 1. Especially just, you think about a lot of the factors going on with DSG right now. Their main job, they did this with technically a substitute jungler. Like Kryra's not there, bro. Kryra's not there. Yeah. They have Rahel and obviously Huhi is a legend. In his own right anyway, but the fact that they have Rahel and Huhi and bot, and they're getting gapped by like my goat Sajed coming out of NACL. This guy, like last year, the way that people were talking about Sajed, no disrespect to Scary Jerry, but people weren't happy that Scary Jerry was there over Sajed. That's all I'll say. The general gist that I got from my NA connections over there was that, yo, Sajed like kind of deserved the chance touch more. And I think for a debut from Sajed, he kind of put them through the floor for all intents and purposes. And then Leon's as well, the bot lane from DSG, they did a number on Sentinels. So I think the fact that this DSG lineup isn't even functioning at what is effectively full strength, and you could walk away from this series feeling like if you're DSG, like shit, like we fucked up game number 1, like we could have just clean 2-0'd these guys. If you're Sentinels, how do you even look at that game? Even though I know it's just one series, right? It's your first series on stage, but what assessments can you really like walk away from that feel constructive? Especially just again in the nature of that there wasn't really a positive game for them from start to finish. And that I think for me is concerning. I think if the few positives that there are, Hambuk still looks like an aggressive psychopath, and I think that'll be good for the league, and I think that'll be good for Sentinels as a whole. Impact still looks like Impact, right? I think his series, if he was to kind of gauge the floor, his floor looked a little bit higher than when he was on TL, just specifically last year. But man, I just feel like overall, like things like the draft, like we come to Game 3 draft, didn't feel like particularly great. I understand like things like the Mordekaiser angle, but overall, I think there just needs to be a little bit more coherency from like game plans, like with the champions that they have. But again, the fact that this is into DSG, right? I know that, again, there's like not a lot to quantify the Sentinels roster against the other rosters in the league, but everyone, myself, was like, yeah, DSG are probably just going 7th, 8th. Like, it is what it is. You lose a convincing series to that team, it's not good. I'm gonna be apprehensive and give them a 6.5. I think it could very easily be higher, just because, again, you know, legends with a lot of experience on that roster in Impact and Huhi especially. But I have a feeling that maybe this DSG team is just about hungry enough. You know, you spoke about BLG not having that hunger. BLG not having that hunger. DSG kind of strike me as a roster that will have hunger, and they'll play like they want to make plays and they want to push their leads, and that's a lot of what I got out of that series for me. So I think Sentinels are being saved by the fact that I think DSG actually looked
might be good.
So good. Yeah, like DSG looks so good that I'm willing to keep the rating a little bit lower.
I like that. I think the thing that impressed me the most was Lions. Like we got to see earlier that day, Vulcan on Bard. Mm-hmm. My God, Vulcan could not buy a Tempered Fate to save his life, and then Lions was just on command.
In fairness, for Vulcan, it took a while, but once he started hitting them, like they were good. But yeah,
I mean, I just kept thinking like Sajed is outplaying Rahel, and that's because Lions is outplaying Huhi and looking like the best Bard of the day when Vulcan played him earlier. So that just to me was very, very, very impressive and kind of surprising that Sentinels just seemed caught off guard, and we got a ton of shots of Golden Glue trying to pull his hair out in the coach's cam. Yamato, what do you make of this fraudulency, especially given the fact that this is a veteran roster?
Honestly, I don't know. I think Hambuk needs to take a look at what he signed up for. You know, I think like he needs to press tab, look what his teammates are. He can't be playing like standard shit. You know, he needs to look at what Navi do. You know what Rylek is doing, and like he's just playing Aatrox, Kiki. You know, he's playing. You know, some Ambessa, you know, he's bringing in, you know, the horse force in the jungle. And I think Hambuk needs to look at this team and be like, yo, I need to turbo 1v9 these games, because Huhi, Impact, these guys, you know, they're side characters, you know, they're going to be good additions to whatever you want to achieve. But if you're picking Vi, and your mid laner is a guy spelling Dark Wings in fucking all caps, like bro, you need to take a step back, brother.
Hey, be nice on Darkwings though. Be nice on
No, why?
Darkwings.
No,
But I
why?
hear you. But I hear you. I hear
Oh,
you.
he hears me, and that tells me to be nice. Now, this, like, bro, this team needs to be the Hambak project. You know, Hambak, bro, he could drop numbers. He could steal a game against Genji, kicking people in the head with Lee Sin. Like, just let him play something that gives him a little bit more substance, you know, and pull people to him. Obviously, that's a very difficult thing to do, but you know, pretty much everyone speaks Korean on the roster, so just piece it together. Because as long as that's not going to be the case, this team ain't doing shit. Hambak just needs to, you know, he needs to see the assignment and you know, just rock and roll. These guys ain't doing shit playing standard. Hambak needs to do some crazy shit. On the other side, bro, DSG. I swear, I thought. You guys said Sajid. I thought it's Saeed. I thought this is my brother Saeed from the Middle East. You know, the LCS is the Middle Eastern League. You know, when I was, you know, people ask me, so how do you save the LCS? I was just open up the league, let the Saudi teams have teams there, and just buy all players all over the world, make it WWE. Bro, but in all honesty, this is just the Arabic league in my mind. You know, we have all the Ibrahims, we have Saeed, but maybe I'm saying his name wrong. I have to say, this guy, I think he impressed me, straight up. I love it when there's a name that I've never heard of before because I'm not watching like NLC or whatever. Not NLC. This is in my head.
NACL,
The Challenger League, and I'm like, okay, who's this new dude? And this guy was performing. This guy was performing. You know, it's like I always said that the talent pool is dead, and like all the talent should be moving to the LEC. That's the place to be, Busio and all that jazz. But it's like seeing a player like this perform, I think was a really, really good look. I think like that's something I can praise him for. I do think the sentiment of like how you piece things together and the hunger and giving people chances, I think it goes a long way. And I just think Sentinels is going about it really, really wrong. Because I do think Hambak is like the centerpiece. But if he's playing Vi, the bro, like what kind of a centerpiece are you, bro? Like you need to carry games, Hambak. And as long as this is the case, just Sentinels full-on frauds. But at the same time, it's hard for me to say, like, I get it if you're hyped about Sentinels, fraud alert maxing, but I wasn't hyped about this team at all. Besides Hambak. Hambak is my guy, bro. Like, when Hambak got benched, bro, I was pissed, bro. I was watching, what was his name?
You were
Kroko?
pissed? I was pissed.
What are we doing, bro? Kroko was playing. This bro, just put Hambak in, and now he's playing here. Just let him unleash. Like, let him play the fun shit. There's room in the meta. That's what I want to see from Sentinels.
I think the only pushback I have on that is game one, they gave him Kiana. It's like, okay, play Kiana. And instead of on Kiana trying to assassinate Sajed or assassinate Call Me, but mostly Sajed, because it was a Kaisa comp that they were playing against, it felt like he was hitting the front line. I'm like, you're Kiana, man. You got to kill. You got to assassinate.
They won, though.
Yeah.
They won, though. Come on, now.
All right. That's true. How can I argue with that? I'm not 2-0 this week. There you go. There's our fraud alerts of the week. Let us know what you think in the chat and in the comments of this episode. If you're watching on YouTube, give us a like and subscribe. And if you don't like to catch us on YouTube, maybe you're catching us on YouTube right now. We're across all podcast platforms. Search Last Free Nation. Don't miss a single episode. Wherever you get your podcasts at, we got you covered. So thanks to our friends all over the place setting that one up here in LFN production. Speaking of friends, it's time to remind you about some of our friends that make the show go. And it's our friends over at Drip Drop. Now, everyone always likes to talk about their new routines in January. Well, mine's actually sticking. I treat hydration like a daily ritual now. It's up there with skincare, as you know, living in Korea, and sleep. Drip Drop has become the thing that makes everything else work better. My skin, my energy, and my vibe. Now, Drip Drop is doctor-developed, proven fast hydration that helps your body and mind work better, which is exactly what your 2026 needs. Think clearer focus, better energy, elevated mood, and even that fresh skin glow. It uses a precise ratio of electrolytes and glucose for fast, rapid absorption, delivering 3 times the electrolytes and half the sugar of leading sports drinks, so you can feel the results fast without the sugar crash. And of course, Drip Drop's science-backed formula is trusted by firefighters, medical professionals, and over 90% of the top college and pro teams because it's engineered to rehydrate you faster and more effectively than water alone. Perfect if your New Year goals include better habits that actually stick. And honestly, it's amazing. There are 16 original flavors, 8 zero sugar options that fit seamlessly into your routine, whether it's the morning or post-workout or midday slump. So good that even Yamata's mom is stealing it from Yamata and using it. Yamata, give us the testimonial.
Look, I haven't even been able to try it because my mother has stolen it from me. But she's saying she's loving it. She's staying a lot more energetic, and that's a very, very big deal for her as well. In fact, so I think her favorite out of the pack has been the cherry limeade. She's just a very big fan of the sweetness of it. So give it a try. It's working for her. She's staying a lot more energetic throughout the day, and she's saying she's a lot more restful too, which is also for her. Normally terrible sleeper. This is doing wonders for her, so I'm very, very happy. Very, very happy with that, and she is even happier.
All right, well, there you have it. Right now, Drip Drop is offering podcast listeners 20% off your first order. Head on over to dripdrop.com and use promo code LFN for 20% off. That's dripdrop.com, promo code LFN for 20% off. Stock up now at dripdrop.com and use the promo code LFN. Thanks to our friends over at Drip Drop. Now let's move on into a little bit of a keeper kick. We talked about one of them tangentially. Actually, we didn't talk about any of these yet. Yeah, actually, no, we did kind of talk about it one tangentially. A little bit. It's time for keeper kick, and we got some big ass throws from this week, including one against Yamato's team. Biggest throw of the week. Was it KT versus T1? Was it Red Canids versus Loud? Or was it Los Ratones versus Shifters? It's this week's triple keep or kick. Let's get into it. All right, let's start with the one that was experienced here. Los Ratones and Shifters. You're in the back, Yamato, thinking about this game and wondering how to get back in. The mind doesn't stop until the Nexus drops. But what were you thinking at that time? And did you feel like the throw was there before Nemesis came in and actualized all over everybody?
I was so, bro. I do think from a technical standpoint, Shifters, bro, this Nidalee was grouping. This Nidalee was grouping, bro. They have Nash and this Hullbreaker Nidalee is grouping. They played 1-4, bro. Like these guys, they were grouping with Nidalee, bro. Just what? I don't know, bro. That's crazy to me. It's like, you know, I respect the fact that people shouldn't be playing Nidalee because it's difficult to end with Nidalee. So that's like a part of the project. But they were grouping with Nidalee, bro. I was mental, you know, because it's like with how the draft played out, I was basically like where we landed. I was basically like 1v5 on stage, and like with opinions fly right on stage. And I'm like, yep. Guys, we're going to run into a problem, you know? We have to go this other direction. We're going to run into a problem. And the guy said, no. Let's just lock this in. It's going to work. I'm like, I'm not going to fight on stage, you know? God bless, go rock and roll, you know? No way I'm going to put my dick on the table, you know? Like, this is where we are. They want to play this, rock and roll, you know? It's like how you build things up, leading to that moment is what matters. And we went on the game, and it's like, well, that game was tough, you know. It was very, very tough to play. Like the team fight we got at the Nexus, it's like was so perfectly timed, and the way the game works, gold just remains on the map. So it's like you are not allowed to make a mistake. If you have Lucian AD with Nico and Nidalee top, you're just not allowed to make mistakes. So that was a giga throw. But I do think like playing Lucian and Nidalee really invites that. Because if you make more mistake, that mistake could have maybe happened earlier because we had like some Gragas barrels that were just on the edge of clipping the Lucian. So maybe the comeback could have happened earlier because you're just not allowed to make mistakes. So to some degree, big throw, but at the same time, you're playing champions that you make a mistake, you're going to lose. And the LEC is not a fucking precise region, let's be honest. And I think the cherry on top of everything that makes this a really fun throw was just the nuke crash out on Twitter, bro. That's crazy. From a coach's perspective,
I forgot about
that. If a player drops this, for those who don't know in the loop, like you said, he was like, I want to blow my brains out. We're not pressing our buttons. Like, this should have been such a free win. I don't know what the hell we're doing. Like, bro, you don't go on Twitter and do this shit, bro. Imagine your teammates reading that. But then it's like, Rooster's like, I don't understand. And then maybe he just moves on. Like, maybe it's as simple as that, Like, I just don't think you should be crashing out like that. Just, it's poor form towards your teammates. Like, say that in the room with the guys and keep it in the locker room. But I do think that adds a layer of spice that made it extra hilarious.
I do like that. I forgot about the crash out and that it was in French as well. So for those of you that didn't see it, that's basically what Nuke said. We're not pushing our buttons. I want to blow my brains out. It was like 3 or 4 tweets in French that gets auto-translated, and then that's the screenshot that gets taken and shared around to everyone in English. So an extra level there. Now, with Loud and Red Canids, they were Red Canids undefeated, 3-0 up against Loud, biggest fan base in Brazil, and they were up 11.7 thousand gold at the 5th Drake before the neutralizado started coming on in. There were multiple, by the way, for Loud, and they start pushing back in towards the base. This game was marred with pauses as well, so it was mental warfare. And even then, Red Canids have an opportunity to push into the base. Same kind of area where Yamato squad was making their defense down on the bottom side turret. That was a 10,000 gold lead. They get caught, they die, and then Loud to hold off for a little bit until they're able to push on in to the base and close it on off after a Drake fight. And it's just, Drake into Baron. And it's just crazy. It's just another crazy one here. And then finally, the last throw candidate here, Jamada, was the KT and T1 match that it was the biggest gold lead, I think, in the history of the LCK. It was bigger than the bro DNF match of last year. It was 14,000 gold that KT had on T1 in game 2. And it was just a comedy of errors. They never sync up the waves. They never punish using like a Fnatic Deathbrush skill set. BDD goes for a 1v1 and accidentally hits his Zonias and dies and stops the tempo. It was a mess, Jamada.
It's the kind of game that you, if you're a coach, like, I don't think you could even look your players in the eyes for a few hours. Like, when they come back into the room, you have to.
You leave the room. You leave the room for this one. You go outside. You start smoking.
You have to take a smoke break. Like, you can't. It's such an unfathomable loss. And I even remember like thinking to myself, in the draft, there were so many ways as well that, to me, they could have taken, because obviously they end up with the Sejuani and the Akali, right?
Yeah.
And when I kind of assessed that draft, I thought to myself, okay, they're playing, so they want to stomp through the mid jungle, the very hyperscaling mid jungle in Azir and Mundo, and that's fine. But I felt like there was actually an easier and more consistent way, because I think the 1-2-3 from T1 was the Azir, obviously, and then they had the Aphelios Lulu all showing already. So at that point, T1, the win conditions are what? They're playing front to back, probably, right? You've got Azir, Aphelios, you're probably playing front to back. What do they need? Frontliners. Did everyone just forget that Trundle is a champion and you can lock that champion in versus Aphelios? And then Orianna is also up, so you can go Orianna into Azir. I know everyone is very excited to see Orianna Azir again for the millionth time, but you can go Orianna, you can have a very chill matchup, you can have Trundle there, so there's no frontline that they can lock in. Cool. And then you just get free scaling, you scale 1-to-1 considerably better into whatever T1 put on the table. And you arguably have easier ways to close out the game because you can actually siege, right? It's very difficult to siege with a Kali Sejuani. You have to continually push the issue. And that was the problem, right? You listed out the laundry list of things that they did to fuck up their game state and their flow. It's just incredible that kind of throw can even happen. And I remember watching it live and saying, this, if T1 can come back from this might be more. This is comparable plot to the 3-peat. Like, this is a ridiculous game state. Like, that's how it felt at the peak. Because I said that right at the peak of the 13K goal. I was like, someone said, like, guys, like, T1 will come back from this. I was like, relax. This is fine. We're getting 3 games of this, no problem. Yeah, I don't know. That's the kind of game to me where if you're KT, I think they're very lucky that on the bounce they get bro. Like, if they have to play another tough team and then it's another loss into that, I think that's the kind of run of games that kind of breaks you as a team, and you have to do a real big rethink and regroup. But yeah, I think for me the main thing was just that they kind of took the harder draft on like response. They executed on it for like 60% of it, and then they just refused to end the game. I think it's a big thing I've been noticing with a lot of teams is like, I think the difference between the good teams and the really good teams are teams that understand the plays that will progress the game till end, right? And it feels like KT understand what plays and where to be on the map to actually make the game go faster and in their direction, but their hands are not doing what they need at the important moments. That was a ridiculous throw. In terms of keep or kick, I want to kick this one because I don't want to remember it. Like, at least with the Shifters LR throw, I feel like if you remove the lead that Rooster had, a lot of that game was relatively even. Like, it was very like you could make some pretty strong arguments for the gold lead being like less than a few thousand, like 2,000, 3,000 with the Nidalee lead removed. And the execution on a lot of the LR plays were very close to actually just making it a outright even game. But again, just the nature of the throw on the inhibitor siege and the 4-1 and everything was just stupid. It was very, very silly from Shifters, and having a situation where against LR, you can be playing a comp where one mistake is realistically equal to 2 or 3 because of your draft. I think that's a huge, huge error to make. So yeah, I'm kicking the KT T11 simply because it is so ridiculous. I don't even want to think about it. But at least with LR and Shifters, I think there was a lot more credence to go, yeah, that was actually comebackable anyway.
I do think that the KT T1, like, obviously it's like T1 aura, haha, Dr. Mundo, hee, faker, la la la, it's like all that fun stuff. But just in terms of like how big of a throw in terms of the position, 3 inhibs down. There's the wave spawn every 20 seconds. There's going to be 4 super creeps every damn wave. Like to throw that, it's like they could win by doing just do less, KT, and you can win. But somehow what they did was just ass, and they gave T1 just ways in. So just in terms of the magnitude of that, I do think just the T1 is the keeper if we are just choosing the one that is the biggest throw. And I do think that probably ours is kick because, yeah, Lucian, Nidalee, bound to lose. Come on now.
I think the T1 one, because it was the biggest, it was 14,000, like I said, but is very comparable. However, I still think in the LCK itself, DNF and Bro probably just has more weight to it because DNF was winless and looking for the first win and throw. So like if you're comparing, throw to throw, that one will still win out despite this one having a larger gold lead so early in the season. It adds to the T1 aura, as you said, but I think the comparison's there. Again, I wanted to give the shout outs to CBLOL because of Bro talent, Young Jay and Bulldozer was out there on the side of Loud getting the win. Freaky scoreboards, they won 17-30. 17-30 is weird as shit, but the winner has to be yours because of the crash out of Nuke on Twitter. I totally forgot about that. You reminded that. Gets it over the hump for me. There it is. Let us know in the comments below what you think the crash out is of the week. The throw of the week. Was it the LCK one with T1 and KT? Was it CBLOL with Loud and Red Canids? Or was it Shifters versus Los Ratones? Now, did you guys hear that Jamar Chase is officially a Fabletics NFL ambassador? That's right.
No
the
way.
Cincinnati Bengals wide receiver just dropped his first collection with them, featuring his favorite essentials, classic effortless tees and go-to oversized hoodies, and all the comfy pieces perfect for lounging or hitting the gym in the new year. Because you have the opportunity to join the Fabletics VIP program, you can get first dibs on all that new stuff. When I signed up as a new VIP with Fabletics, I got 80% off of everything. I thought it was going to be one of those too good to be true things, but no, this is real. And the quality really surprised me. Fabletics pieces feel like the kind of high-end activewear you'd easily pay a couple $100s for, but get that same premium fit and durability for a fraction of the price. At that point, the VIP membership basically pays for itself, and the fit is dialed in. No waistbands creeping down, joggers that actually keep their shape, and jackets that are warm without being bulky. Everything feels soft, breathable, flexible, and built for whatever your day looks like, whether it's workouts, travel days, getting back into your routine, or those new year fresh start mornings where you just need something that helps you feel put together. And there's something reassuring about knowing that Fabletics isn't just an online brand floating in the void. They've got over 2 million VIP members and more than 100 retail stores. It feels like joining a community that people genuinely count on. So you can get incredible deals now over at Fabletics, and we've got an exclusive offer just for our listeners. Get 80% off of everything when you sign up as a VIP. And yes, that includes Jamar's first drop. Just head on over to fabletics.com/powerspike, take the quick style quiz, and be sure to select PowerSpike when prompted to unlock your 80% off. That's fabletics.com/powerspike. And don't take our word for it. Take NFL great Jamar Chase's word for it as well. Thanks to our friends over at Fabletic for powering us here at PowerSpike. Okay, let's power some debuts over in the LCS. They finally kicked off a week late, and it was a pretty good start. Surprising matches, close matches, and some really, really good debuts. And actually, a couple of stinkers from players that maybe you didn't expect. So that's why we got high key, low key, no key LCS debuts. Let's get into it. All right. So LCS, they're in. We've got our 4 teams with wins, our 4 teams with losses. And let's start with the no keys. Who had a stinker? Like a bad debut here, Yamato, for the LCS squads. Is when you think about the wins and losses, you know, we kind of touched on one of the upsets in terms of Sentinels getting the loss, but was there another debut that you look at and you're like, ooh, that was not what I expected from that player?
Honestly, like I think Sentinels is obviously a good shout, but just to not be a one-string banjo that just plays the same note. I do think, like, considering the rollout was C9 versus Team Liquid, you know, it's like just in terms of where Team Liquid is as a whole, like just watching those games, I felt like anything that Team Liquid got was what C9 gave them. I do think that in terms of
that.
You know, to Team Liquid, they should be operating at the highest standard in my mind, especially like looking at how like their off season went down. As like Quid was the guy, you know, that Eyes was on. And in terms of where the field is at, especially with how Flycos is restructuring, Cloud9's Team Liquid should be like the marquee matchup that tells us a tale of, you know, where we're heading with the LCS season. And I was very impressed with C9. But on the flip side, at the same time with Team Liquid, I was, you know, kind of underwhelmed. Like I think at this point, the veterancy that is on this roster, it's like you expect them to start off at a way higher note than they did. So for me, like just Team Liquid across the board, I have a hard time being super excited for the future of it, you know, because it's like, sure, we had the crab situation, you know, a little a classic, a little crab situation. But if you don't capitalize a win after you get a crab situation from Blabberoni, you know, like I got my eyes on you, you know. So I'm just looking at, you know, what is going to be the top end. And Team Liquid for me, you know, I was hoping for more, you know. I was hoping for a lot more. Come on, your boy Morgan is in there. Come on, man. He came across the pond and shit, you know. Like, come on now. Just expect high expectations on Team Liquid. So those are that's just the team as a whole that I have my eyes on as, you know, underwhelming.
All the bros scattered from last season
they're everywhere
around the world.
Yeah,
it's painful, man. I'm so sad. The hype is over in Turkey. Closer took the bag over with the DN Automotive Supers. DN Automotive, one of the largest exporters of car parts, so they had the money to splash out. Krako went back to China. Morgan went and took the Alienware bag. Don't laugh that hard. Come on, man. Come on, man.
Oh no, you've been infected by his vocal stim, man.
All right, Yamato, help us here.
Yeah,
What was your Noki? What was your Noki?
You know what? My Noki was it's actually now I don't want to seem like I'm biting off the back of Yamato, because my Noki was actually going to be Zinni, because I feel like he had a really, really rough time, but I think to kind of not Zinni, Quid, because APA completely he kind of he gave it to the pro, like belt to ass. Like that was a walloping when you really like sit down and you look at the laning phase and you look at how those interactions went in general. But I'm gonna swap over and I'm gonna go to Zinni, because I feel like there were all across the board. I actually think a lot of the debuts that we got out of the new LCS players, or the players on new teams, were pretty good. Like I think they're consistently a relatively high floor. Zinni for me though, I just think maybe he had a little bit too much hunger in that game one. You know, like he was a little bit too excited to try and make some montage plays. You know, on the broadcast as well, they spoke about his Azir in the game one. Like one of his most famous plays was like a shuffle at the top tier tribush, top tier 1 tribush. And yeah, it just felt like he was going for that play off cooldown, when I think what Shopify needed to do was just play a slow game where the Azir is just hitting the first thing he can. And that was it. But because of that, it felt like they really gave FlyQuest a lot of strong opportunities to come back into the game. And then the Rise game, it was so bad I can't even remember what he did. I can't remember what impact he even had in the game. But the first game, his actual proper game 1 debut sticks in my mind, because you can tell that Zinni is very talented. He's definitely got a lot of hands behind him. I think what that Shopify lineup is probably going to need to do, even though a lot of it is the same core from last year, is just like the KISS approach, right? Keep it simple, stupid. Just very easy front to back compositions, where like lines of discipline are easy to adhere to, right? Because otherwise, I think you end up with situations like game 2, where it's like, okay, you have Nico as your engage, and that's kind of it, right? And I think the moment that right now, if you introduce nuance, my main takeaway from that series against FlyQuest was, if you give this team nuance right now, they're not gonna know how to play, or drafts where you need nuance to approach it, they're not gonna make it. And I think they still probably need a little bit of time in the garage and in the lab to really kind of make those kind of situations work. So I think Zinni was a lot of the driving force behind that, unfortunately, because I think he could have just carried it home after the way the game started in game 1. I can't remember the peak of the gold lead, but it was a big and very closable gold lead in game 1. And I think a lot of it, whilst you could definitely point fingers at contracts and how he kind of angled fights and things like that, I think the fact that Zinni was just kamikaze bombing into the backline to try and find the constant montage plays really didn't end up helping. And I think it kind of undersold him, and especially on the promise that he's come into the league with. The Zinni supporters are loud. The Zinni supporters are very, very loud. So I think to not come in and be a FlyQuest that is technically supposed to be a development project, I think that's a pretty big no key for me. And I think, again, it doesn't help that a lot of the debuts are good. A lot of the debuts are good this week in the LCS.
That's interesting, because I think mine piggybacks off yours. You guys talked me out of throwing Hambach here in this slot.
That's what's up. Come on now, bro. Dap me up. Come on now.
With the the Hambach thing just stressed me out just because I just seeing him go front line on the Kiana, it was like, come on, bro, like bro talent. But I think I go here with Seos mainly because this is one of the very few roster changes for Shopify Rebellion. They only had Zenny come in. This is your second year with B-Voy. B-Voy has been a stud on this team, and you are getting outplayed by a rookie in Cryogen. He just felt out of place. The Nico ults didn't feel impactful, and you're just seeing the impact that was being made over and over again in the opposite number. It just felt like I didn't quite like that. I didn't quite like that in terms of the debut. So yes, Zinni I think is a good shout, but also I think maybe down over with Seos as well when they are a play through B-Void team. That is them. That is what they do. So you've got to get your young rookie mid laner in line, in check, especially if Fudge is just getting absolutely like shit on every time and all the focus was going up there. You're the one that has to do that. So yeah, I thought that was a pretty no-key debut. Let's go to low-key. So Yamato, lead us off here. Who was like a under the radar? Someone that you were excited with their first week in LCS?
Now here's the thing. I said the bar is really high, so this is gonna sound really weird when I say this. But it's more because my high key, hopefully if it doesn't get sniped, is so high key that it can't. For me, it can't be anyone else. My low key, I'm giving to Sajid, just because I think, again, for a lot of people, he would have been under the radar. And again, this could easily be my high key. I want to make this clear. There are so many high key debuts in the LCS. I'm kind of just giving him the low key as like a. I just want to talk about the guy. I've been rocking with a lot of the NA guys over the last like year and a half, and everyone and anyone who talks about Sajid, they've been talking about him like he could be the second coming of Jesus. And when he didn't come, when he didn't find a spot, in
the world needs Jesus right now, bro.
Hey, man,
the world is a mess.
So look, when I'm hearing this and I'm hearing this big talk about Sajid, I'm thinking to myself, well, damn, how good could this motherfucker be? Like, what could he really be hiding? And I think there was one particular split last year as well where I think he ended up teamless, like he just didn't end up in a spot, or he didn't end up in a good project in tier 2, or it might have been 24. But in relevant recency, he even ended up not finding a good project in the tier 2 space. So for him to come in, and I think to the non-knowers of the LCS, which there will probably be a fair few, or the NACL, to see him kind of pop in the way that he did against, I would say, another bot lane in the Sentinels bot lane where very similar to B-Voy. I think that Raiho, since he's been in an A, I think he's made a decent like name and reputation for himself where it's like, oh, okay, this guy's not a pushover. You know, like,
yeah,
he's going to be relatively solid pretty consistently. And obviously also into a name in, like Uhi, who everyone will know from in an NA. I think he didn't really have Sajid a bad game this weekend. I think he just looked incredibly solid, and I think that's a very exciting thing where he did it on pretty much unanimously hyper carries. All three. It was Kai'Sa, Sivir, and what was the middle one? He got Yunara, right? So
yep.
Yeah, looked fantastic start to finish, and I only low-key him because I think no one would have really had any idea about who Sajid is unless you're a proper, you're tuned in with the NACL and you're tuned in with some of the real hardcore community people.
Yamato.
This might be Loki always confuses me, so I'm just gonna throw what I want to say out there and let's hope it fits. My low key is, as LCS is going to progress, I think that who people consider the best top laners is going to shift in comparison to the previous year. Because with where the meta is at, I do think that the skill set of the old top laners that have like the finesse of knowing where to be, which wave to drop, how to execute the Drake fights, I think that the Ooga Booga top laners that just lane super well and do nothing else, I think they're very happy in this meta. And I'm looking at players like Photon, I'm looking at players like Thanatos, even Gakos, in comparison to the Dokes and the Food Gear and the Impact. I think that the players that brought stability to, of course, the region. It sounds like geopolitics, but they brought stability to the region with their top lane tank play. It's like I think that the top laners that lane super well, like Thanatos, I think he's going to be super happy. I think Photon, he had that Cannon game, for example, into the Renek blind. I think these guys that made a name for themselves for being stable. I think if the meta remains in the same place, my low key is going to be that these guys are going to struggle a lot over time. And I think they should be happy that Whippo isn't in the mix, because Whippo would be throwing like some crazy counter picks to your blind picks, He would come in with the ergo. He would be like volley bearing on your forehead, They should be happy he isn't in the mix, So at least with that being said, my low key is keep an eye out on Thanatos, on Photon. These guys that struggled in playoffs in the previous year. I think these guys are going to be the big dogs of top lane as things proceed.
I think that was good. That one worked. I don't know what you're worried about. Yeah.
Low key, come on now.
Low key for me, because it just straight up surprised me, was Call Me, part of that disguised good run there. I think Sajed is a good shout out. You and I are linked, Yamato. We're seeing the same thing. We're attributing it differently. Just because Call Me could not break it out of that Nongshim like log jam of mid laners, because they had Fisher, they had Calyx, he was in the mix. I think they also had Fiesta for a while. So he was kind of stuck in there, gets an opportunity. And yes, it's against Dark Wings, probably the, highest potential, but also lowest floor out of a lot of our mid laners. But I think him doing well surprised me. So shout outs to Call Me for a good opening week. All right. Yamato, I'm going to give this to you because I think Yamato and I are actually the same here in our high key. So Yamato, go for it, brother. Who is your high key debut of the week here in LCS?
But my high key, and this is tied in with everything else that we saw on the day. My high key is like I'm just loving what I see from C9, bro. It's like I'm obviously giga biased because Dom is like one of my closest friends. So just seeing his vision in play, that just feels good. And I think seeing that vision in play, I can go. I feel so high key about C9 that I'm predicting them as the winner of the league. I think they're going to be the top dog.
This is glazing.
Like, I think they're going to be the top dog because it's like I can see the Dom. I hear his voice. When I in Champions Select, I hear his voice. He's like, I don't know how to copy his voice. It just came out like that.
Unique voice. Yeah.
Sounded like a fucking organ or something. Nevertheless, C9, I think straight up the debut was really good. I think APA looks sharp. I think that's like the only real concern that you have. But I do think that the changes in this season are perfect for C9. Thanatos, Lane Kingdom, that's his strength. Top lane, it has become a lot more about that. I think APA can play more dynamic, and I think that the APA Blabber pairing is one that actually makes a lot of sense. And I think as long as they can find bot lane picks that is going to contribute to the game, like the meta's in a good spot with the Baruses and all that jazz, it's like just unleash your support. I just think C9 straight up high key for me. I think they're going to win the league. I would be very surprised if they don't, based on everything else that we saw. Leon maybe scale up there. I think FlyQuest needs a little bit more time to be a competitor, but with what I saw from Team Liquid, I'm not getting super hyped. And at the same time, Leon, they have to, they have their visa issue to Zamudo and so forth. And I think it's going to take a lot more time to piece that together because I feel like the C9 vision is so clear from day one. And that to me is insanely impressive.
I think it was very obvious the two, I think it was like the two Drake fights. I think it was Drake 3 when Cloud9 just dance around that Drake and use Azir's range and never commit when it felt bad. They didn't get bored and committed. They just constantly poke, took the Drake, and then eventually they backed off. And then the Drake after that, they gave up the Drake, but kept looking for the fight. They get the fight. It was a big sweep by APA later on. And I was like, damn, that's some patience right there that you just don't normally get and don't normally see. So I thought that kind of discipline being drilled into the team, awesome to see, especially after the Crabber incident. That could have just, stunted the game. They got to a place where they got to play how they wanted. All right, Jamada.
Can I talk about the crab incident actually for a moment? Just because I think it's very interesting, kind of builds off of Yamato's Haiku a little bit. They actually did some really cool tech to try and make sure they secured that crab. To do with some of the new jungle changes this year. Blabber, the crab king that he is, he actually had upgraded smite for that fight already, because he left the grump up, and the treat system, which I think it's been working the same since it came out. You get a free treat every minute after a minute and a half, which I think is actually still synced up with the old jungle timers. I think it's a change they forgot to shift. One of the few things they forgot to shift. So he leaves grump up until after 5:30. He takes it after 5:30, gets the 1k smite, and then theoretically, if he's not on Nidalee, if he's on like a more like team fight or like a Jarvan or a Vi, if TL commit to that and they don't get the crab and Blabber gets the crab and then he hits 6, they can completely run the fight if he's on a slightly different champ. So I actually really even love like the min-max, and I think that's things where you're talking about the tangible impact that Dom has. I think that's going to be something that Dom and Blabber sat down together and went, hold on a second, this is a timer where we can look to abuse something. So yeah, even down to the real minute and fine details, I think C9 are going to continue to grow. But my high key, and I'm kind of being a little bit greedy here. I'm taking 2 players at the same time, but they're on the same roster, and typically the roles work together. It's Griffin and Cryogen.
Yeah, I knew it. I knew we were synced
those guys had a fucking phenomenal debut. I don't think I've seen a more. I'm just gonna be like probably a bit over the top. I don't think I've seen a more exciting debut out of a team in a long time. Out of a runner fight. Obviously, you know, Masu and Quad were there last year, but and Gakko's obviously subbed in here and there. But as what effectively feels, especially because it's such a big change narratively, going from Busio inspired to these two, you know, I think they're both 18, or maybe Cryogen is 19 or something. They had a graphic come up on the screen. The average age of this team is 20 and 1 month, or 20 and 2 months old. That is insane. And to think that in the game 1, they were in the position that they were in. They don't falter. They constantly look for picks. Inside of like these cracks of where SR are kind of, they're not dotting their I's, not crossing their T's on a lot of the plays they need to be making. And then game 2, Thresh, out of from my understanding, like Thresh is a bit of a Cryogen specialty. He loves this champion. Between him and Masu, like Masu's using purple green on Aphelios, so he can get the snipes to find lockdown, so that Cryogen can get easy death sentence hooks. Incredible. And Griffin as well, pulling out Volibear jungle. Jungle is completely pinched by game 2 already. I think it was something silly like 8 or 9 jungle bans through Fearless and the bans inside of that game. And he just goes, fuck it, give me Volibear. Something that he was playing a lot last year on Loud, and he completely dumpsters the game on it. Incredible stuff. Very, very hungry team. And I think what is exciting to me is you can tell the environment is probably incredibly positive inside of that team, even in game states where they're for lack of a better word, they're getting shagged, right? Like again, the game 1, it didn't look good, but you could tell it didn't really affect them. They understood what the win conditions were of Shopify. They tried to offset them as much as they could, and they looked for plays that they could. And even again, just to touch on Cryogen again, Karma Thresh debut, such a like polar opposite set of champions to come in and debut on. And you would even say really outside of the typical meta, right? The only time you see Thresh is with Aphelios, which is obviously we got, but no one is really playing Karma on stage unless you're with Caitlyn, right? Maybe Ezreal. So really, really good looks out of both of them. And it's made me reconsider how I look at this FlyQuest lineup. If they can come in and look like that into a roster that a lot of people I feel like actually had quite high, right? In Shopify, I think most people had them kind of floor 4th, right? Most people 3rd, I think. Again, I think the top half of the LCS is, I think this is the most parity that we've had in terms of preseason expectations out of a league in a long time, let alone the LCS. So for me, my high key is Griffin and Cryogen as a duo. I think they had a phenomenal debut. Griffin was in positions where it looked like he was walking into 3 people and you were like, shit, is he going to kill all 3 of them on the Volibear? It got to a point like that. Very exciting stuff, man. Very exciting stuff.
I'm looking back at rosters here from LCS. Maybe like at the beginning of the year, and I don't even know, was this beginning of the year? Yeah, maybe it was the Perks coming to NA roster back in 2021 is the last time where you felt something like that, because Danny debuting wasn't at the beginning of the year. Like Danny is like when you think about that kind of like young talent, that wasn't the beginning of the year type thing. He debuted in the middle of the year after popping off in both the tier 3 and tier 2 space. So that was what I felt. And also having met the kid, knowing the kid here in Korea, hung out multiple times, and then not having it go his way at T1 Academy or whatever, the tier 3 T1 challengers, and then going to Brazil, having good moments, but it's Brazil, it's loud, they like your kind of personality, they like that, sure. But then to play like that and feel that like, man, he left home to make his dream come true because he was killing it on the server, he was killing it on the ladder since he was, a teen, goes to T1, doesn't work out, goes to Brazil, doesn't make it out as a favorite, then makes his way to LCS finally, and to start off like that and be the main character and set up, while the other candidate for my Noki, while Quad was having a stinker in game 1, like Quad was playing like shit. I was like, oh fuck, Masu's gonna have to carry all these guys because Quad is not getting anything done. And then Cryo shows up, and Gakko shows up. He's dumping on Fudge, and then to top it all off, the Volibear jumping over 1v2ing. It was fun to watch, and I can just hear his voice being like, "What's this guy doing? Is he an idiot? That's cool. For real? For real? Like, no one's ever made me feel older than Griffin, but watching him play better was awesome. So it was just a great debut for Griffin. I'm very happy for him, very proud of him, but also like it's earned. It's earned. So he's got to keep it up, and so do the rest of FlyQuest. But the fact that Quad was not functioning in game 1 and they still got a win because everyone else picked up the slack was just exciting, surprising. And we'll see what happens here for the rest of the year for them. As again, it seems like they're, it's FlyQuest versus Disguised. They're both squads are like, whoa, holy shit, we won the draw. Like it's Worlds. We drew Gam or whoever. We drew the LCP team. So it'll be fun to see how this one goes here. Those were our high key, low key, no key debuts of the LCS. If you agree, let us know in the comments below. Have you been following these players? Were you a Zinni fan back in the day? Were you a Call Me fan? Were you a Cryogen knower? Let us know in the comments. We'd really appreciate it. While you're there, like and subscribe. All right, gents, one more topic to go through before we close out the day. But before we do, it's time to remind you about our friends over there we go. Our friends over at Prize Picks. I had to remind myself about our friends over at Prize Picks. Now, the big game, it's almost here, and there's no better way to cash out in America's biggest sporting event than Prize Picks, where it always feels good to be right. And since the big game is around the corner, that also means it's your last chance to get into the football action before next season. So close the season out right with Prize Picks by getting $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5. Now, again, Prize Picks has been so easy. You download the app, you're good to go, you make your picks, and then you enjoy and win. And now Prize Picks is great because community is there. With the social feeds feature, you can share Prize Picks with your friends and copy lineups from winners with a single click. Copy lineups that you like or use them as inspiration for your own picks. You can even follow Prize Picks partners like us and tail or fade our picks with one click. And there's also the new feature alert. Prize Picks has early payouts. So if your player gets off to a hot start, you have the option to cash out those winnings before the game even finishes. So download the Prize Picks app today and use code PowerSpike to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 worth of lineups. That's code PowerSpike to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. All right. Galaxy Brain Club time. The season has been out for a while now, gents. Not only do we have the pro play stuff, but also the solo queue and all the weird ranked issues that kind of came up here in Korea and in the Oceania server, where for some reason aiming was like iron and Lucid like plays to silver. So all the pros were kind of in the muck for a little while. They figured it out eventually, just like we're wondering in this week's Galaxy Brain Club, who has figured out the 2026 season of League of Legends the best across the pro scene. Let's dive into that right now. Okay, so examples. What is good? What is good? Let's start opposite. Yamato, what is bad in 2026 that used to be good? Let's start there. Basics.
I think a good starting point is just I think the dynamic surrounding the lanes. It's like everything is about mid lane because the side lanes are literally ungankable. You have side wards on lower CDs. You have Fey lights. Like, bro, like I hear Rihanna singing all of the lights, you know, like when someone pops that shit in the river, you know, like, I don't know if you die to a gank at this, in this meta in bot lane, unless it's like some freaky lane gank and you're preparing for like a 3v3 and it's like you're contesting space, all the action is around mid lane. I think like that KT Genji game where like, everyone would just walk in mid. It's like even Ruler was like flashing to ult BDD to break his flash on Talia, you know, in that Talia-Yon matchup. Everything is just about how you connect into mid, how you pressure through mid. And that just means that like bot lane, the supports in most cases need to be roaming unless it's like a pairing where you scale like Aphelios Lulu that we see. Most of the time, the supports just want to connect into mid, fight on mid, be on mid. And for top lane, it also means that you play a very isolated game. So players like Zeus, Bin should be very happy because their skill set about lane phase should be even more empowered and more clear because the options to gank top sometimes happens when Rumble is in the game because you just need to break his ankles because that robot is too broken. But most of the time, top lane is isolation. All of the party just happens on mid. So the bad is like if you are like, let's say I mentioned before, like if you're Dokla Impact and you're like, I'm going to TP into the team fight and I'm going to be a tank and I'm going to find my windows to participate, bro, there are top lane picks that will stop you from participating. They can lock you under your tier 2. They are going to like basically the cost to participate in a fight now is just way higher because the waves are more frequent. The turrets are, of course, easier to break with the crust or the crystalline growth. The crustiness on the towers, you know, is easier to break. So usually it's like in the past, if I played Ornn versus Fiora, you pay the price. It's like, okay, you hover into my side, I push one wave, and then Fiora's going to try to push into my tower, and then I'm going to join that Drake fight. But now Drakes are tanky as all hell too. It's like takes a lot of time to kill them, and that pressure on side it can be overwhelming big time. So counter picks galore. And just 3v3, 4v4, 5v5 on mid lane to pressure mid lane. That's just the name of the game. And to tie that into the topics, like who figured out the best, you know, season 16, it's like the region I take the most inspiration from the get-go is, of course, the LCK. I think you made a good point, Digon, about how the format is ass, because it is. I do think the LPL is always like years ahead on format in terms of what people want to see.
LCK officials, I did not say it was ass. I just said it wasn't as competitive as the LPL. I love my job. I love my job. We love ass. Ass men right here. We love ass. But all right, keep going, Yamato.
Yeah. As you mentioned, there are some circumstances surrounding the LCK format where the best teams haven't played against each other just yet. But in terms of the direction and the focus, I do think like the game is very Drake-centric. The beats you need to hit in the game about like that second crab spawn, the third crab, the one we talked about, C9 inting. I do feel like the LCK is very aware of these details. I feel like the contest that happens around mid, the teams are so insanely sharp around it. There was this game, I'm trying to remember who T1 played against, but it was this game where Faker played Silas into Aurora, and it was this window where he TP'd back into lane. I think it was against HLE. He has just amped home advantage, and then suddenly there's this huge invade time because they had information from level 1 to just fight on chickens, and then there's just all-out 3v3 brawl that just decides the whole game. And I do feel like the LCK, especially the T1 and Genji, are so aware of that detail of the game, the essence of how to win games right now. It's like contest through mid, the early crabs, and then set up for Drakes with very, very smart, wide side lane play. So it's like when I'm showing anything to the boys, okay, it was like he's co-stream every LCK game, it's always like, oh, look, this is what they did in the LCK. Let's digest that. I compare it to the LPL, and LPL is like, oh, what the fuck? It's just, yo, just chill a bit, like let things sink in a little bit. It's just like, I feel like sometimes the LPL games, it's like, it's very cliche, but I do think like some of the fights that happen are very like unnatural. And you can see it, like, I think Kanavi is the poster boy of that, because he's not in the LCK, and it's like, he's like John Travolta, like it's like, what are we doing, So that's where I'm at. T1 Genji, big inspiration points.
Honestly, when I'm reviewing the LCS matches and seeing kind of like where these decisive like fights and or throws were happening, it felt very different than where I see the decisive LCK matches happen, which is usually at the Drake pit or like the blue or red buff on the bottom side afterwards, right? But rarely is it kind of on the top side awkwardly when Baron's not up or Herald's not up. Like, it just felt like we're fighting in weirder spots. So I like that you brought that up. Yamato, when you think about this meta compared to last, what jumps out, either good or bad now? And then who's kind of been in the lead here for it? Like, if there's a team that kind of inspires it.
I think for me, and it's actually, I think it's pretty interlinked with one of Yamato's layer points. I think it's jungle and how people are kind of looking at it still. I think a lot of teams are still looking at it as the kind of, to me, it's the dog roll still. Whereas, you still got your Jarvan, your Vi, your all of these like traditional junglers. I think we're in a farm meta right now. I think right now that the jungle is actually a role where I think you can probably slam more carries in that role than you think at this moment in time. And I'm not really seeing too many teams do it. And I think the reason, there's two things for me why I say this about the jungle. The first is with no Atacon and the tower changes, and I think this is more of a perceived thing with the grubs. I actually think that grubs are still pretty good. They're just like, their efficiency, I think, is lower because of the mechanics in the game, right? Of like the crystalline crust and all of this stuff. But I think all in all of these changes have compounded to make Dragon like even more important than it normally is. There's no Atacon in the game no more. There's only one spawn of grubs. Towers are tankier. The one place where you can consistently get good fights is around Drake. So to tie that in, I think the reason why it's so important to do with the farming junglers is farming junglers normally what they want to do is they just want to do their camps on cycle, and then they have like a minute of time where ideally they've got like a play to make, and that's it. And then if they can't find a play, they want to just reset, go back and do that shit again. And you can cycle that in with Drakes very, very efficiently as long as you have lane prio. And I think right now the categorically easiest way to play the game is with champions who can full clear or want to full clear, have decent scaling, and actually I wouldn't even say have good one item spikes. I'd actually say arguably it's 2 item spike junglers you wanna have in your team right now. Things like, for me, I would say Mundo is a good example. Obviously, people usually take Mundo into Malphite, right? And you certainly can't just like blind pick Mundo like a psychopath. He's not like that good, but this is just the kind of archetype of jungler I'm thinking about, like off rip of this, that you could take in pro, where he wants to full clear, and then he wants to work off of his lane's prios so that he can continue to do things like maybe get a 1 camp invade, maybe just, again, start Dragon on 5 minutes. And And I think that is the way, to me right now, I think that jungle is not being played, but needs to be explored more. And I think one team that's kind of close-ish to this, though I'll need to check the stats to fully confirm. I don't know what Navi's dragon control rate is, but one thing I'm loving about Navi right now is they are the only team that seem to be consistently exploring the jungle meta. Relech, I think his game, I don't think he's got like a normal like an air quotes normal champion in the jungle played yet. I think he's only played Aatrox and Bessa. And the third one is escaping me. This is sleep deprived.
Kiana. Bro, Hamak, watch and learn, bro. This is the guy you need to copy.
Yes, bro. Honestly, I've been loving Relech here in the LEC so far because again, Navi as a whole, I said this last week and I continue to believe this. I think in terms of the read and the philosophy that they seem to approach the game with, they are the most like narratively consistent team to me in the LEC right now. That doesn't mean they're the best. It just means they're the most consistent in terms of what they believe the way that the game should be played. And it is through picks like that where they are strong skirmishers. They scale well, they farm quick, and they have very well defined IM spikes, which I think a lot of these champions spike harder at 2 IMs than they do at 1. Obviously, I think Aatrox is maybe a slight, he definitely probably Sundered Sky, and then you're vrooming through the rest of the game. But these champions, what do they want to do? They want their farm, and then they've got one window for a play, which they all ideally love. They don't want to have to be called to lanes to have to like babysit. And if they can have prior to then start up a dragon, and then teams have to come into them, these champions love that. And I think Navi have identified that generally that is a very, very good way to play the game for them. And I think, for me, a lot of it needs to build off of Drake. And I think I want to see more teams, even if I'm not saying every team is to be playing Ambessa Aatrox like right now. That's not what I'm saying. But I think teams need to explore what can be played in the jungle more and actually adapt a little bit around that. Because I think the jungle role now can do a lot more than people are letting it, actually do, especially with the quest. It's not a lot of golden XP, but if you start to snowball once you have that quest fully stacked, you can keep up with anyone in the game with very little additional resources outside of your camps. So for me, it's the jungle meta, specifically, and just the ease of playing through jungle into Drake stacking, because I think dragons are exponentially more important than they were because there's just less importance in grubs. There's no icon on the map. And I think you can really do a very I said earlier, keep it simple, stupid approach to the game right now, where it's easy to execute and there's very little drawback as long as you actually draft appropriately for it.
What is then the false solution here? Like, what has been something that is like you keep seeing picked over and over again, Yamato, and you're like, what? Why haven't we learned this yet? Or we've tested this enough and I don't want to see it anymore.
Well, this will be funny because Yamato, you boys, you did it 2 games in a row. I think stuff like Jarvan and a lot of these skirmishes, unless your idea is you want to, and this was definitely your guys' idea, was to, basically break tempo, cheat tempo with like the moving mids, because again, there's so much vision in the game. It's impossible really to gank sides. If you're playing through mid, then a pick like Jarvan I think is fine, right? Like it's great. But I'm not seeing teams do that. That's what's jarring me right now is I'm seeing teams like
Yamato, I need to stop you right here, bro, because Jarvan right now in top regions is sporting a 70% win ratio. Okay,
good for that champion. Good for
40
him.
wins, 18 losses, and 2 of those are us griefing. So like,
good for him. Hey, good for
That's
him.
A good point.
Good for him. The day that Sundered Sky gets nerfed, oh my god, that champion is going straight back to jail for the rest of eternity.
So your argument is some hypothetical that hasn't happened yet. All right.
Yes.
Come on now.
Yes, it is. But
I was agreeing with everything you said. Navi, great archetype. Points, all that jazz, and then you dropped the Jarvan point to jab at me. Come on now.
It's not to jab at you, but it's the archetype of champion, right? Like that's still my main point is the archetype of this kind of champion. I think right now is being overplayed. And to turn back, you said, Digon, what is the thing that I'm not liking the most? It's just that. It's that staleness of and the lack of kind of wanting to explore what can be done. Especially when I think I don't know what your read is, Yamo, because obviously you're working now as a coach again. Like, I think mid is probably the most broken role in the game right now. Believe it or not, like, even though top lane got the bogus ass like bonus XP and level 20 cap, AD carries can build like 6 real items if the game goes long enough. I think mid lane is really the lane that right now tangibly has the most impact in the game, because more than ever, I think it actually is capable of enabling the jungle to then also break and start to snowball the side lanes, which are incredibly more snowbally because there's a lot more gold for AD carries in the game. There's a lot more gold seemingly right now in the game, period. I'm still I'm apprehensive about that take, because I think the way that everything has been shifted, I actually think it's kind of just a net neutral to maybe even less. It's just like, you hit the tower, now I have more gold right now, but once you've broken the tower, it's the same as before. But yeah, the way that top lane is so snowbally, etc., yeah, that's what I'm disliking the most.
Yamato, you can't reveal too much there, right? I don't want you to reveal too much, but you can counter with maybe something else that is also like
no, bro. The Javan point is goofy. It's like Javan is very good at ganking mid. It's like it's probably the most successful jungler on the patch. There's team identity, all that jazz that matters. I think there's some champions that are definitely like overplayed, but it's what I mentioned before. I don't think mid lane is necessarily the most OP, but it is where all the attention falls. And especially in the LEC, you have BO1, so you get to see Azir Orianna every damn game, so obviously it's like it decides the game very fast, because those matchups are very volatile and it breaks your ankles. It's just that all agency that you have, any tempo you have, it leads to mid lane in the early game, so it puts a lot of pressure on your mid lane. Because it's like the odds, like if a jungler ganks top and you push in the wave and crash the wave, it's like, yeah, I don't care. I have home guards. But mid lane is like every time you have, there's no cost to having a little sniff in the mid lane. It's like, if you're a jungler, I do 3 camps top side, I take a little look mid, I do my chickens, take another little look mid, and then I clear my camps. There's very little price to pay. But if you gank top, bro, you show on the top lane, suddenly you lose your chickens, you lose your bot side, you lose everything. You are not central anymore. So all agency is in mid. It is definitely what can decide games. But I do think in terms of champion strength, like if the game is balanced and even, this is where like Aphelios and the top laners just look giga broken in my mind. And definitely in BO1s, definitely like Ryze, Azir, Orianna look very strong. But in Fearless, I think that the power of mid lane definitely tapers down. I think the scaling of the top laners and AD carries is definitely something that overwhelms, because it's like you're a mid laner, you've been doing well in the game, and then you go on side and you're level 12, you're feeling good, and it's like enemy top lane is level 14. It's like, what the fuck? Like that gif of that guy that just, what the, that it's like, if you as a mid laner don't win both sides, which was the case always in the past, it feels a lot worse to progress in the game. If the top lane is stronger than you, what are you doing? Because in the past it was always like, oh, enemy Azir is just taking a big dump on my forehead. It's just top laners are like the side lane dreamers, and in team fights, especially like a champion like Renekton or like a champion like Ambessa, they reach level 16, 3 items like in the game guaranteed. You're level 16 at minute 20 and you have rank 3 ult. It's very, very game breaking. But you're balancing on a knife's edge as a mid laner, because you can lose the game very easily.
Yeah. Renekton, 38% win rate, 20 games play, or 20 wins, 32 losses. It's kind of brutal out there right now for the Renektons. Also, just other champ that has played a decent amount and has a sub 30 win rate is Jhin. Jhin is 6-15, just getting destroyed right now. Aatrox 6-12. These are just a couple champs that come to mind. Nautilus 15-27, 36% win rate. So they're trying things, but it seems like you need something that has a little bit more tempo, and that's why I think a lot of Yamato's points in terms of those LCS top laners that are kind of slower are falling behind. All right, close this out here, Yamato.
Tiny thing. Enchanters. People need to play Enchanters more. I think Enchanters are really broken, and no one seems to want to play it. Now, I know they're very punishable in bot. And and you have to kind of know what you're picking into. But if you see your support matchup and you can go in Enchanter, I think you should be slamming them 8 times out of 10. Contextually, if you need engage, then sure, like, lock in your Leona or Nort into whatever you're staring at, or your Rel. But I think Enchanters are incredible. Again, the Cryogen game on Karma is a fantastic example of what a good Enchanter and a good Enchanter player can do for you. So your Karma, is the main one I'm looking at. But also even Ivan in the jungle as well. Another silently, like, kind of slept on with all of these new Enchanter item champions that I think need to be explored a bit.
Now's the time, solo queue grinders, to abuse the autofill thing. Let the timer go up. When you get autofilled, play Seraphine, play Brand, Echoes of Helia into the crown. What is it? The diadem? Is that what it's called? I forgot what it is.
It's got a weird ass name. We just call it diadem.
Yeah, and plus the diadem, you just do insane healing and just let the other psychopath on your team who does damage carry you, and you get double LP. I'm almost a whole tier higher already in Korean solo queue because of it. So we'll see if the pros pick up on that next week. Y'all, that's an episode of Power Spike right there. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe. And if you are transitioning away, you're traveling a lot, you can't get to YouTube takes up too much space on your phone, we're in all the podcast areas, so search Last Free Nation, find the Power Spike podcast, and you can give us a listen there. Yamato, thank you so much, appreciate your time, good luck this week, and then you can catch Jamada on the co-streams for LPL, the content that he's putting out. You can catch me on the LCK this week as we move to best of fives. How many best of fives have been played around the region? That's right, none. Only LCK. Watch LCK Global, support us, blah, blah, blah. Also, it was announced that we're doing our finals in Hong Kong. We're going overseas for a finals. LCK taking a little bit of space. Sorry, LCP. But it is what it is. A lot of good news coming out here in the last quick hit. So thank you all so much for watching, and we'll catch you next week for more Power Spike. Bye-bye.